Using boxing in social group work with high risk and offender youth to reduce violence. Introduction. A sport in which two people fight by hitting each other with their hand inside large gloves. Boxing is actually a sport that's existed for centuries, becoming an official Olympic event in 688 BC. There's actually evidence of boxing happening in Old Egypt. Modern day sports, boxing involves two athletes pounding one another with padded gloves, attempting to knock the opponent down of theirs and out. These fights generally last 3 to 12 rounds, with each round typically lasting 3 minutes. Boxing rules. To be a fair stand up boxing match in a 24 feet 7.3 meter ring or as near that size as practicable. No wrestling or hugging allowed. The rounds to be of 3 minutes duration and 1 minute between rounds. If either man falls because he is weak or because he is hurt, he must get up on his own and he should be given 10 seconds to do so. The other man should go back to his corner, and when the fallen man on his feet, the round should start again and go on until the 3 minutes are up. A man who is helpless and has his toes off the ground is down. If a glove bursts or comes off, it must be replaced to the referee's liking. A man on one knee is considered down and if struck is entitled to the stakes. No shoes or boots with springs allowed. A boxer is not allowed to make use of ropes for better grip. While the referee is making the count, the boxer must go to the neutral corner. Benefits of boxing. You must just be surprised as to the many benefits that boxing can have. Cardiovascular health, strong bones and joints, bigger muscles and more tone, improving your coordination, weight control, improved confidence, better core stability, better endurance, self defense, revealing stress. Hypothesis. The research had gone through different related examination considered finished on the space. In view of the accessible literature, keeping the above logical concepts, the accompanying hypotheses have been formed. It was hypothesized that boxing assumed an essential part in reductions of violence among the youth of Karnataka. Boxing adds to positive development in youth in regards to prevention of violence. Boxing helps in diminishing enemy of social conduct among youth. Boxing helps in controlling aggression and anxiety among youth. Boxing develops complete personality of a person. Objectives of the study. To study the concept of the boxing, types of boxing equipment, objectives of the game and use of boxing to reduce violence. To study the concept of boxing in social groups in India. To analyze the impact of using boxing in social group work with high risk and offender youth to reduce violence. To access the impact of boxing in social group with high risk offender to reduce violence, its solution and impact on personal and emotional behavior of the respondents. To identify the role of boxing in changing the total personality or have an impact of person behavior of an individual. Limitations of the study. The accompanying variables are the limitations of the investigation since the research couldn't have authority over them. The research didn't choose the subjects from social group work with a high risk and offender youth. Some offender youths are based authorities felt that it can make issues for them to allow the researchers to gather the data. Delimitations. The investigation is delimited to. The study is delimited to of Karnataka as it were. Study is additionally delimited to the partners who are straightforwardly or in a roundouted way included. The study is delimited to violence areas in the Karnataka. The study is additionally delimited to those partners just who are directly or in an indirectly way engaged with sports exercise. Significance of the study. The examination can help the mentors who are joined with boxing chamber or some other boxing organization to discover the ability and how to wide out them to empower them to perform better in future in the groups and individual games and discover the shortcoming of the sportsmen who are going to the coaching camps. This will assist a mentor with molding out the genuine ability and make them helpful for society. This study will expose some new realities of unrest occurred. The results may go far in eliminating a portion of the prejudice. Hence, some secret gifts of Karnataka youths will be useful to work on the level of participation and accomplishment in boxing. Government specialists will likewise come to know what their job is in the development of boxing and participation of players. This study will likewise assist guardians with understanding their wards and assist them with supporting in games and boxing. The study will likewise help and characterize the job of boxing and socialization. This study will develop a positive methodology among the youth and will assist them with driving themselves to the way of progress. Literature Review. Eric McIntosh, 2021. Many things play a role in how a person thinks about plans to do something. In this study, we looked at how organizational factors helped young athletes think about their future plans in high performance sports. A mixed method survey was used to get data from 207 young athletes who didn't make it to the elite level at the 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games in the Bahamas. The paper helped us understand how social and environmental factors can be controlled and not controlled at a multi sport international event. Zoe Hilton, 2021. When it comes to assessing and treating intimate partner violence, the RNR principles of an efficient correctional service, which have a strong foundation in journal offender literature, have been less frequently utilized IPV and investigation into the frequency of antisocial personality traits, pro criminal views, substance use, poor relationships, and work schools issues among 1,427 men who had been reported for IPV in the original Oriental Domestic Assault Risk Assessment ODARA dataset was conducted. According to the findings, selecting those who need the most service IPV therapy can be improved by using the ODARA to identify those who have criminogenic needs. Boxing for social groups, social impacts of sports. There is a huge proof of various social impacts from insert in game and exercise. The best proof concerns and medical advantages which forestall or diminish physical and psychological wellness issues and save money on medical service costs. Look at the model of sports based intervention and youth violence. Evolution evidence base, indicators of positive and negative outcomes, gaps and shortcomings, inventions, mechanisms, participation programs, concepts. Amateur boxing and education. Another drive sent by the ABA is worried about the capacity of amateur boxing as a segment of schools' PE educational plans and further education accomplishment. Under the feature time to bring it back into schools, the ABA committee 4 pages out of the 16 of the program to this subject. The accompanying reasons are offered with regards to why amateur boxing is viewed as commendable for consideration in school PE educational plans. It can be educated at a simply sporting, non contact level. It is protected and empowers physical wellness and a solid way of life. It gives a productive, restrained source of animosity and cheerful moods. It helps characters and self empowerment. It can make a critical commitment to the decrease of viciousness, harassing, and fighting inside schools. Research methodology. This investigation has been undertaken to survey and assess jobs of boxing in decreasing violence among the youth of Karnataka. The methodology embraced for selection of subjects, selection of variables, selection of tests, description of tests, administration of questionnaires, collection of data, method of scoring, and statistical design used. The subjects of the current examinations were 600 youth boys and girls aged between 13 years to 30 years. The subjects were the players of boxing. The various variables of the investigations were anxiety, stress, self esteem, aggression, future development, emotional security, psychological conduct, and socialization. The pilot study was led to survey the underlying response to the subject to check their interest and react really with the investigation. For this, 25 subjects were chosen for a time of about a month and 6 weeks. Data collection. Primary data. The data on choose variable was collected. Samples were gathered from different regions, schools, club, associations, and personal meetings with the different subjects. There was an appropriate methodology for collecting data. There were fruitful conversations with these officials. Secondary data. The secondary data have been collected through internet, magazines, research papers, books, dissertations, etc. Tools used. The accompanying tools were utilized to gather the data on choose variables for the current examination. To measure the aggression level, the aggression scale built up Roma Budding and Tasneem Nahwi was administered. To measure socio-economic conditions, Kuppuswamy's modified scale was utilized. Self-made numerous questionnaires were utilized for interview purpose for those government authorities who were stakeholders. To measure the psychological conditions, CR Cinder's adult hope scale was utilized. Voice recorded camera of 13 megapixel was used. Interview. Data analyze and result. Did you know what boxing in social group is? The below figure shows that large part 85% of respondents know about boxing in social group. Further, it uncovers that 65% of the respondents knows boxing in social group in small extents and just 8% realize it to large extents, while 15% of the respondents are not having any knowledge about boxing in social group. Did you know anyone who got injured during the unrest of Karnataka? The above figure shows that greater part 75% of respondents doesn't know about harmed victims. Further, it uncovers that 67% of the respondents realizes them to extremely small extent and just 3% realize victims to large extents. Through 17% of the respondents realized the victims to small extent. Further, it uncovers that 13% victims were known medially by respondent. As a student or youth, do you think bullying, fighting, and street violence by offender are effective? Do you think they can fetch any result in order to reduce violence? Impact of boxing in social group on personal behavior. I tend to overreact to situations. Look at the diagram. Response: if yes, to what extent? Impact of boxing in social group with high risk offender to reduce violence, its solution and impact on personal and emotional behavior of the respondents. Do you think that bullying, fighting and street violence by offender prove any positive development towards boxing in social group? Look at the diagram. Response: if yes, to what extent? Do you think bullying, fighting, and street violence by offender makes you frustrated sometimes? Look at the diagram. Response: if yes, to what extent? Discussion of hypothesis. It was referenced in the principal hypothesis that boxing assumes an essential part in reduction of violence or criminal conduct among the youth of Karnataka. The results of the examination shows that there was a huge change related with criminal conduct because of the investment in games and boxing. It was referenced in the second hypothesis that boxing assumed part in checking the aggregations of Karnataka. The results of the investigation show that boxing assumed part in checking the strained circumstance of the state by including the youth in boxing. Based on the results, it tends to be expressed that the third hypothesis, boxing adds to positive development in youth in regards to violence, counterintuition stands acknowledged. It was guessed that boxing helped in reducing against social conduct among youth. By discerning the information, it was affectionate that boxing brought positive change among the conduct of youth and taught the positive social conduct among them. Thus, hypothesis 4 stands accepted. Conclusion. It was finished up from the consequences of the examination that boxing assumed a larger part in coming full circle the social shades of Malek on one during aggregations of Karnataka. Participating in boxing had instilled the social values among the youth in Karnataka. By taking part in boxing, an emotional change in the conduct of aggressive youth was seen. They utilized their aggressive conduct in positive manner for the development and achievement in sports performances. It was additionally reasoned that these youth were quite fulfilled by taking part in sports exercise and accomplished a degree of peace and harmony in their life. Due to the impact of boxing, positive change in self esteem was found. It was likewise presumed that sports cooperation had beneficial outcome on the enthusiastic security of youth. Sports cooperation had constructed altogether in every of the factors empathetically. It was additionally inferred that boxing helped in reduction in violence conduct among youth in Karnataka. It was inferred those sports assumed an exceptional part in changing the complete character of a person. Future scope. On the base of current study, the investigator has suggestions for more analysis. A comparative sort of study might be directed for different states. A comparable sort of study might be directed on higher age group over 30 years. A comparable sort of study might be led on national and international levels. A comparable sort of study might be led on individual level. Thank you for watching.